Hi all, welcome to this, the last video in our urban geography section, and this one is looking into a little bit more detail and quite a specific case study for our developing world city, and we're going to be looking at Dharavi, which is a shanty town in Mumbai. So, a little bit about Dharavi just to set the scene. What is it? So it is one of the most famous shanty towns in Mumbai. If you've seen Slumdog Millionaire, things like that, it's been featured. It's an area of less than a square mile, and it's home to more than 1 million people. You know, let that sink in for a minute. Less than 1 square mile, 1 million people. You know what I mean? It's crazy. And thus my next point is a little bit moot, but it is extremely crowded. You know, I mean, this is one of the most densely populated areas in the globe. Features of Dharavi. Now, in terms of the land use, we've got 15,000 one-room factories in there. You know, that includes 3,500 garment workshops, 5,000 leather workshops, a whole district dedicated to pottery, and a similarly huge area dedicated to recycling. And you know, you marry that up with hundreds of small shops to meet people's daily needs, bread, food, etc. It's extremely busy. Ownership, the land is technically owned by the government and by the local Mumbai government, but the residents that live there don't pay any taxation to the government, so they are illegal squatters. They do pay to live on the land, but they pay kind of more unofficial landlords who'll take care of small areas of Dharavi, and that's who gets paid for the land. Now, the building materials, so if you go right at the edges of Dharavi, this is where the newest residents will gather and add on, effectively, to the region. It's very much like a squatter camp. You know, it's built with cobbled together materials. It's very, very poor quality. And as you move in towards the centre, the buildings start to become more established. They're built of brick and concrete. They have proper tiled roofs, things like that. Now, the houses themselves, now, because of the huge population density you have in such a small place, most houses started as one room and have been added to vertically. So you've added houses going up the way over the years. Now, similar to what I said in the previous video of actual size, so you're talking a house for between 6 to 10 people is going to be, you know, it's 3 metres by 3 metres, it's 9 square metres. So again, you know, I mean, pace that out. Most people's can pace a metre. Try that 3 by 3, and you'll see that's a room which, you know, I mean, in the worst case, is going to house a family of 10. So you can see how little space we're talking about here. Now, water, there is piped water in Dharavi. It is available from standpipes. So, I mean, a standpipe is what it sounds like. It's a pipe standing up in the middle of the street. But the water is only on for a couple of hours a day. Sewerage, there are toilets, but every individual toilet serves around about 500 people. And if you imagine a toilet that serves 500 odd people, it's blocked frequently. So what people do in lieu of that, pardon the pun, is they use there's a shallow river that flows through Dharavi that gets utilised as a toilet as well. Electricity, most houses do have access to electricity. However, it's illegal electricity that they've effectively ran a wire to the nearest main power pylon, and you know, I mean, as such, it's unreliable. Now, one of the interesting things about Dharavi, the employment rate is about 80%. Now, most people work because if you don't work, you don't, you know, I mean, survival is difficult because there is no social services. So if you're not working, you're not earning, living is going to be hard, but it does result in really, really high employment figures. Now, if we consider all that, there are a lot of issues with life in Dharavi. It's unhealthy. That doesn't really take a huge amount of explanation. But, you know, I mean, we have got poor sanitation, lots of people in very cramped conditions, disease spreads fast. You know, I mean, we've got raw sewage enters the water system frequently through cracks in the pipes. You know, you also have children play in raw sewage. So, I mean, that spreads disease really quickly. You know, diarrheal diseases, cholera, typhoid, TB, etc. It is a big, big issue. You're also going to see a lot of people work with very, very toxic substances with no protection. You know, I mean, things like making matches the chemicals that are used in match heads are hugely toxic. So people work with them without protection, they get sick. And that all marries up to giving you a life expectancy of about 50, which is pretty grim. Now, again, we mentioned that this area, it's an illegal settlement. So there are no basic services, or there's a severe lack of basic services. There is no rubbish collection. So again, no rubbish collection. You've got refuse in the streets. It attracts rats, it attracts flies, it attracts mosquitoes. So disease spreads more and more and more. Now, the government is making steps to try to address this by providing some local services, like a couple of schools and a state hospitals being built. But again, you have got 1 million people and a couple of schools and a hospital. You are going to outstrip that demand. You're going to outstrip that supply, really, really quickly. The schools are often not free. You need to pay to get into the schools. People can't afford it. We're talking about people here who are very, very poor a lot of the time. So the literacy rate is very, very low. And again, medical care isn't free either, so you need to pay for medicine. And that's one of people's big concerns here, is they get sick, so they can't work, so they can't earn the money they would need to pay for the medicine to keep them well, and that can be a bit of a vicious cycle. And it's the same if a family member gets sick. Everyone else has to try and work more to earn the money for the medicine to keep them going. We've also got issues, I mentioned this earlier, it's an illegal settlement. There is no taxation here. So the government misses out on the taxes from, one, the actual rent of the land, and two, the work that the residents and the businesses do. Now, this illegal work that gets carried out is referred to as the informal economy. And it actually makes a lot of money. So the government is missing out on a significant amount of money from this area. Now, because of this lack of regulation and lack of legislation in the area around business, it means that, we don't have environmental protection laws. You don't have somebody saying, no, you can't dump that waste in the river because it's toxic. You don't have somebody saying, no, you can't make that child work this shift because they're too young. This kind of stuff is ignored because we just don't have any legislation surrounding these industries. And all this marries up to give what some people perceive the area a very, very poor image. And the local council particularly are very concerned that that puts people off visiting Mumbai as a city. It puts people off investing in Mumbai as a city. Now, all that said, there are some good sides to Dharavi, because we've got all those issues that I've just talked about, but the people in there have been asked, right, do you want to leave? Do you want to move somewhere else? Do you want to be provided with alternative housing? And the majority of them say no. They say they want to stay in Dharavi. Why is that the case? Now, a couple of bits, and I'll just put them all up to now. Housing. Right. It is small, it's tiny, we've really made that point, it's cramped and everything as well, but it's cheap. Mumbai can't build enough housing. We mentioned this in the previous video. Mumbai can't build the houses at an affordable rate for the people that are coming into the city. Now, in Dharavi, you can have a house for as little as £3 a month. So even the poorest people can afford it with the work that they get paid for in Dharavi. And again, employment, as I've said, the employment rate's 80%. There are thousands of businesses in Dharavi. Now, they don't pay a huge amount of money, but they pay enough that people can support themselves in Dharavi. And also, you've got some of these trades are highly skilled. We've got pottery. There's people who work, who woodwork, metalwork, electricians, all this kind of stuff. These people are there. So yet they're passing on these skills as well. Now, I mentioned earlier that Dharavi does actually make a lot of money, and the government are a little upset that they don't get access to that money. They make as much as £300 million a year, and most of that money then gets spent in Mumbai. So that is positive. The recycling industry there, it is massive, it's huge, it's very successful. Mumbai's waste, up to 80% of it is recycled. In the UK, it's less than 30%. So that is a huge, huge percentage of the waste actually getting reused because people can make money off it. And then the last one's, there's really low crime. Now this is it's a kind of a line that I've picked up from one of the texts. Most houses in Dharavi don't have doors, let alone locks. But despite that, the crime rate is lower than the rest of Mumbai. And one of the big reasons for that is that there is a real sense of community in Dharavi. I mean, the things where, like the washing of clothes, drying of clothes, the pottery areas, stuff like that, are very communal. People talk while they work, and there's a very, very strong belonging in the area. And last, the people who do live there are very hardworking and very enterprising, and these are skills, again, that get passed on to the next generation. Now, all of this said, there are moves to redevelop Dharavi. The local government look at it and they think, right, okay, there are pluses to this area, but the negatives outweigh that, so we need to look at how we redevelop it. Now, a project was announced in 2004, and it was meant to be completed in 2013, and it still hasn't really started. It's still not really got underway. But we do look at it, so we look at some of the key features of that project, and some of the key features were: part of Dharavi would need to be demolished. You would then build high-rise apartments for some of the residents. Each family that gets an apartment would get 21 metre squared apartment with water, sewerage and electricity provided. You would only be eligible for that if you'd lived in Dharavi since the year 2000. Other residents, you would get rehomed somewhere else in Mumbai. Only non-polluting industries would be allowed in. The other half of the area would be given over to expensive housing, shopping malls, offices, etc. It would cost around about £2 billion to do all this. And the money is going to be met by private business, not by the city of Mumbai. So that was the plan. There were huge issues with it, and there still are issues with it. So again, I'll pop this all up and then we'll talk through it. So, only some of the families get to stay in Dharavi. We've already talked about the fact that most of the people who live there now want to remain there. And even though the apartments that they're getting are going to be bigger in terms of floor space, again, as we said earlier, most families, as much as they only had kind of 3 by 3 metres to begin with, they've built up, they've built vertically, so they think they're going to lose out on space, and you can't, if you're given a flat in a high-rise block, you can't build out or up. Again, most of these residents live directly above their businesses, their workshops. Again, you live in a high-rise flat, that's not going to be the case. A lot of people are very worried that the businesses that they have, so things like metalworking, are far too polluting, and they'll be told their businesses can't remain in the area, so they would need to move away with the skills they have. And again, there's not enough space being given to businesses like pottery and recycling. Now, these are fairly profitable in Dharavi. They make people money, but they take a lot of room to make that money. So people are worried that they're not going to get the room to keep that going. And fundamentally, people look at this and they go, who is this meant to benefit? Is this meant to benefit the people of Dharavi? Or is it meant to benefit the people who are investing in it with these expensive houses, shopping malls, offices that are taking up half the space? And there is real concern over that. So, other thoughts, other ideas. One of the big ones is the idea of putting in self-improvement schemes. So the residents of Dharavi get together in small groups and they look at one small area of Dharavi. The groups talk to local government, they try and petition for ownership of the land, and they then put in improvements, more toilets, improve the water supply, expand people's houses, reinforce the buildings themselves. The residents of Dharavi have a lot of the skills that they would need to do this. Some of the groups are talking about negotiating small loans from banks to finance it, and others are trying to petition the government, be it Mumbai city or the Indian government itself, to try and get some of the local amenities improved, get a legal electricity supply, have proper piped water delivered to people's houses. Is it any better? There's two ways to look at it. Yes, the self-improvement schemes are cheaper, as the residents are going to get the work done themselves. Everybody gets to stay in Dharavi. You don't have people moving out against their will. Local businesses won't be disrupted. You don't need to, the people who do metalworking don't need to think about leaving. The improvements are going to be the ones that residents want, and the community links will be preserved and they're going to be amplified because the community does the work. But you're still not seeing whole-scale redevelopment. You're still going to have possibly very poor conditions, and it may not be well legislated for. Now I'm going to wrap up here, as this has turned into a longer video than I originally intended. Now this is the last video, as I say, on the urban topic. The next videos we're going to see are going to look at rural geography, and then that's the end of the course. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.